Grace and welcome to my channel and welcome to a face-to-face video. I don't do this very often, but today I am going to share 3 books, my recommendation of 3 books that I read recently. Actually, one of them I read many years ago, but there's 3 books that are not scrapbooking related, but I think these 3 books will help us when we plan or when we're doing our scrapbooking. Okay, so the idea came to me because it was close to the end of 2024 when you see all these people talking about the books that changed their lives and things like that. And in my mind, I was thinking about those same kind of thoughts, right? What are the books that changed my life? And there are a couple of books that I read last year that has really, like, it was one of those books that was like, man, I wish everybody would read this book, right? And then there's a third one that I have used as part of the way I look at productivity, and I thought I'd share it. And I'll tell you as I share the books on why I think this will help us in our creative pursuits. Okay, and I'm going to be looking down because I did write notes on my phone just so that I'm not going to be rambling. And I have 2 books here in my hand. The one I did have to return to the library, but I will show a video of, or a picture of the book either on this part of the video or here. But it will be there and I will have links over in the description box below. Okay, so the first book that I wanted to recommend, if you have not read it, this is called Eat That Frog by Brian Tracy. Okay, and this the premise of this book is that if you think about it, no one really wants to eat a frog, but if you have to, might as well do it in the beginning of your day, or like the first thing that you do in your day, okay? And so the idea is that you have to do your hardest tasks first, so you will be more successful in tackling other tasks during the day. And it will also reduce your stress because it won't be in the back of your mind all throughout the day. I don't know about you, but for me, I know that when there's tasks that I know I have to do and I procrastinate with doing that thing, it's like a baggage or it's like a rock on my shoulders that I have to carry for the rest of the day. So the idea that the author Brian Tracy is saying, why don't we eat our frog first? Right? Why don't we do that hard task first, and then it's out of the way, we're not procrastinating, and then we feel like we've accomplished something for that day, and also it will help us to feel more motivated to do the other things because we know we've done the hardest part of our day in the beginning. So how does that translate with scrapbooking? Well, first of all, if you look at our task as adults outside of scrapbooking, because we have some, right? When my kids were little and I was a stay-at-home mom, of course my frog is the chores, right? The cooking and the cleaning and the grocery shopping and maybe having to take the kids to their different places. So those were my frogs. And so I did that in the mornings, just getting it out of the way so that in the afternoon I could have my time with scrapbooking. And that has helped. One of the things that my kids and I really did especially when they were preschool age and before preschool, was routine. So in the morning we would be out doing things, whether that's grocery shopping, going to the park, going to the library, meeting up with friends. I do that. And then by the time we come back, it's usually, I bring lunch, so we usually come back at like 1 or 2. The kids will nap, and then I have that 1 hour to 2 hours to be able to do my scrapbooking. So that was how I treat eating my frog when it comes to outside tasks that takes me away from my scrapbooking. The second way we can look at this book is the idea that maybe there's tasks that we do in scrapbooking that are our frogs, that are the hard parts, or the things that doesn't really excite us. So why don't we do that first, right? So that after that task is done, then we will be able to enjoy our scrapbooking. So for me, that is journaling. Not that I don't like journaling, but I don't want to stop my creating so I can type my journaling and print it out, or that I can handwrite. I know we need to have our handwriting in our scrapbooks, and I do that. I've had a lot of layouts that have my handwriting, but I just feel like in this phase of my life, when I have my journaling ready and it's part of what I am gluing at that moment, or what I'm adding to my layout at that moment, I don't have to come back and do that. That just gives me that just takes away so much stress out of my creativity. So what I do now is I batch print my journaling. So what I do is I go on my computer and then I open a document, and then I just, all these pictures that I wanted to scrap, I started typing up my journaling for those specific documentations or scrapbook layouts, and or I will pull up whatever I had written about those moments in my social media, because you can use your posts for journaling as well. So sometimes I do that. And then also now I add the date to it, because back then I'd come back and had to stamp the date or write the date another time. But now it's connected to my journaling, and it has saved me so much time and taken away so much stress. So that's my first book, Eat That Frog, if you haven't read that. The second book that I wanted to talk about is called Steal Like an Artist. And I forgot the author of this book, but it's black, the cover is black, and then it's just some handwriting for the title. And it's the way the author wrote this book is very clever. Okay, so the premise about the book is that there are certain myths about being an artist that we need to challenge. The author gives 10 advice in the book, and they're easy to apply to your creativity. I also like how the book was illustrated. Again, it's a book created by artists for artists, so you can see that in there, and I really like that. And there's some doodling and varying fonts, and it's a book for all creatives. That's what I think about this book, and I read this in the beginning of last year. So one of the things that he said, because there's 10 advice that he has. The first one that he says is to steal like an artist. And how is that possible, right? Because you're not supposed to do that. But his premise is that as an artist, you are inspired by a lot of things and a lot of people. So if you are going to steal or copy or mimic, copy them all, not just one. And that really resonated to me, because us as scrapbooker, right, we have this term when we create a scrap lift, right, where we go and we are inspired by a page, and then we either copy all, copy some, copy a little bit, but there's things in that layout that resonates with us, that inspires us, and then we translate that to whatever we're creating. And I feel like this is a really great advice, especially to those that are starting, because when you're starting, it's a blank slate, right? Everybody has their own different styles, and you're trying to find your own. So why don't you just copy the ones that are inspiring to you? And this is one way for it. Again, if you're copying, if you are gathering inspiration from another artist, don't forget to acknowledge that. Give credit where credit is due. We do that. I do that. I hope you do that. And it's just a way for us, for people to know that you were inspired by somebody else. And so I really like that idea that we can steal like an artist, because you know what? Those masters also was inspired by other artists. So don't forget that, okay? Another thing that I like about his advice is that, one of the things that he says is don't, where was that? Anyways, one of the things that he said was, don't wait to get started when you have an idea. And that's a great advice, because as an artist too, sometimes we feel like we have to have this grand idea before we even get started. But for most of the time, for most of us, we know that in the play, sometimes inspiration comes, right? So don't be afraid to just start working with paper, start working with products that you want to work with, and then of course the inspiration will come while you're playing. So again, another book that I really highly recommend as creative and as an artist, because even though you're scrapbooking and you think, oh, I'm just a scrapbooker, no, you are a creative and you are an artist. Okay, so the last book that I wanted to recommend in 2025 for all of you creatives out there is this book, All It Takes Is a Goal by Jon Acuff. So I'm gonna tell you a little story. I read this in 2024 and I actually listened to this book. I am very fortunate that I have a job. Well, my previous job, that's a long story. I'm going to tell you that maybe another time. But I used to have this job where it's called data entry, where you go and you enter data into the software, into a computer. And the good thing about my job is, although there's a lot of details that I have to make sure I'm paying attention to, I can listen to something while I'm doing most of my job, because I've been doing it for 4 years and it's kind of second nature to me, most of the things, right? And so I can listen to something. And so I listened to this book, and this book only took me about 5 hours to read, and it's not very big. And I read it for that entire work day. Yeah, I listened to this in one day, because the way the author broke down his ideas was just, it was very refreshing to me. He thinks the way I think. I've enjoyed a few other of his books, and I actually also subscribe to his podcast, again, because he's my new favorite author, Jon Acuff. Anyways, this book, I love it because, first of all, he starts off, so the premise of the book is about goal setting. And he says that there's 3 different process or parts in creating, formulating a goal that will give you a higher chance of making it successful. Okay, so that's what he talks about in the book. But the way he starts the book is that he wants you to picture the moments that where you were at your happiest, your best moments in your life. And he talked about that in a way where you reflect on it, you write it down, and then there's also a gratitude piece. And as a scrapbooker, as a memory preserver, that really stood out to me, because we try to document the best moments of our life, don't we not, right? I mean, sometimes we document the hard parts too, because that's part of us. But for the most part, we document the best moments of our life and our family's life or our loved one's life. So for him to talk about that's part of goal setting, really stood out to me. And it's really connected, because when the feelings that you have at those best moments, those are the ones that you want to feel, right? Those are your core beliefs. That's connected to who you want to be. And if you have that in the back of your mind, if you start there, then you'll be more motivated to do your goal, because you know that goal is connected to your common, or to your core value, to who you really are, or who you really want to be. Anyways, it goes on and on and on. And why is this related to scrapbooking? Because first of all, I like that reflection, because there are times in our scrapbooking journey, I don't know about you, but I know for me, there has been times where I'm feeling like there's no mojo, there's no creativity, I don't want to do this. But then it comes back to why. Why are we doing this? Why are you doing it, right? For me, I'm doing it because I want to preserve my family's memories. So that is my why, and that keeps me going, especially during the hard parts. Also, because it helps to set goals. Like if you are a scrapbooker that you want to be prolific, or you want to get caught up. By the way, I don't believe in getting caught up, because then you don't have anything else to scrapbook. So I don't lean that way when it comes to my creativity and my scrapbooking, although I do want to at least not feel so stressed that there's too many pictures to scrapbook, okay? But whatever your goal is, then you will be able to connect this book, like the processes that he says, you'll be able to plug in all of your scrapbooking goals within the framework that he builds, so that you will be more successful. I haven't tried that myself, but I have tried his framework in the other goals in my life, And I'm going to tell you, it feels motivating. I haven't finished any of my goals because I started in 2025. So I'll let you know at the end of the year. But it's just a really nice framework, and the way he says things, again, he seems like he's the kind of guy that thinks the way I do, so I really like that. Another book that I highly recommend of his is Playlist and Soundtracks, because we do have these narratives in our head, and sometimes we have to challenge those and question those. And so he talks about that in another book. But anyways, those are the 3 books that I wanted to share with you that I really strongly feel that this will improve or help with your scrapbooking goals today. I know it has helped me think about productivity, think about goal settings, and also how I want to be as an artist and a creative. If you have any questions, make sure that you leave that in the comment section below. I don't do these face-to-face videos very often, but if you like these kinds of videos, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. If you like what you've seen here in my channel so far, please go ahead and subscribe and hit that bell button so that YouTube will notify you when I do post a new layout or a new video. And also share for those people that you think will gravitate towards the type of scrapbooking that I do. Until then, I will see you guys in the next video. Bye now.